Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Airforce team investigating the accidental bombing in Rann arrives in Borno State on a fact-finding mission. Barely 3 days after a peace deal between Fulanis and natives of southern Kaduna, one person is killed in a fresh attack in Zankan, a border town between Kaduna and Plateau states. Professor of International Law Akin Oyebode disagrees with northern leaders on the ownership of the nation's oil. Insists principle of burden and benefits must go together. And Israel approves hundreds of new settlement homes days after the inauguration of Donald Trump as U.S. president. A six-man board commissioned by the Nigerian Air Force to investigate the misfire in Rann has arrived in Borno State. The board is chaired by Chief of Standards and Evaluation, Headquarters of the Nigerian Air Force, Air Vice Marshal Salau Bala Riba. Part of the terms of reference of the board is to investigate circumstances surrounding the operational error that killed over 200 civilians and 2 soldiers. The board has visited the theatre commander, Operation Lafia Dole, Major General Lucky Rabo, commending the army for the show of solidarity when the error occurred. General Irabo asked the investigative board to concentrate on detecting what went wrong and make recommendations on how future occurrences can be forestalled. The board has also been talking to injured persons in hospitals in Maiduguri and state government officials. They're also expected to visit Rann in Kalabalgi local government area of Borno State for an on-the-spot assessment. Barely 3 days after Fulanis and natives of southern Kaduna reached an accord to end the killings in the area, unknown gunmen have attacked Zankan village in Kaura local government area, killing 1 person and injuring 5 others. Zankan is a border town between Plateau and Kaduna State. Spokesperson for the Kaduna State Police Command, Ali Usman, who confirmed the incident to our correspondent, said the gunmen invaded the community, a predominantly Fulani settlement, on Saturday night, and opened fire on the residents. He says that security operatives have been deployed to the area to avert any form of fresh attacks or reprisals. An indigene of the area and Deputy Chief Imam in Jema Emirate Council, Muhammad Kabiru, also disclosed that the gunmen attacked the village at about 9 p.m. with guns and in the process shot a 13-year-old boy dead. He said the other injured persons have been rushed to hospital in nearby Plateau State. We're staying with Nigeria's north. Apart from the challenge of resettling displaced people from the southern Kaduna crisis, a major issue facing the authorities is how to convince students to return to schools in the affected communities. Our correspondent, Ini Thompson, who visited the area, reports that achieving permanent peace in southern Kaduna is a priority to all, and efforts are being made to stop the killings.
As the crisis in southern Kaduna lingers, the number of internally displaced persons increases, a number which, according to the Christian Elders Forum of Northern State, currently stands at about 30,000. Many who have fled their homes squat with relatives and friends in the 5 local government areas which are not affected by the crisis. Others settle mostly in schools. In LGEA Primary School in Kafanchan, we're told that about 1,500 of them converge here 3 days in a week, mostly to comfort each other and receive donations from groups and generous individuals. Another effect is the closure of schools, which in areas like Kanikanon Kingdom in Jema local government area have been closed since the attack on some communities on December 24, 2016.
The people in the community were scared, so they left the community and went to the neighboring areas. So since then, none of them is ready to come back to the community. That's Amba.
Teachers say they've been compelled by the school management to report to their schools every day, even though the classes are under lock and key. Higher institutions such as Kaduna State College of Education, which serves students beyond southern Kaduna, has also been affected. These have raised concern from many Nigerians. A former special assistant to the governor on religious matters, Mr. John Hayeb, shares his findings on some factors which may have added to the crisis.
Sometimes what you find out is that our securities, for those who actually man our roads, seem probably not to have gotten a good training on how they can skillfully attend to Fulani people or these less educated human beings. Sometimes when you interrogate them in such a way that you make their human dignity as if you are disrespecting them.
So some of these are perceptions, and we will do everything possible to try to disabuse the minds of some of these people who are mostly not enlightened on these perceptions.
The state government's response is that it will focus on restoring peace and encourages all parties to interact more with authorities.
Wherever you are in part of Kaduna State, there's a certain authority that is close to you. You have a right to complain to security agencies, to local government, state government, and beyond that to go to federal government. If you have any complaint or dissatisfaction with the way a manner threats to your life are being managed, yes, platforms are there.
As the search for peace continues in southern Kaduna, some parties have asked that attention also be given to the issue of indigene and non-indigene dichotomy. Should Nigerians who have settled in an area for years still be referred to as settlers? That's the question for the federal lawmakers. Ini Thompson reporting for Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the tension between herdsmen and rural communities in Benue State remains as protesters decline the alleged ceding of an island in Agatu to herdsmen for grazing. Governor Samalotom, in a fence-mending move, informed citizens of the state government's interventions to rebuild Agatu.
I promise you that if I win the election, the first project I will undertake will be the road project in my local government, in Guma local government, and then the road to Obagaji in Agatu local government.
And one of such interventions is the construction of the Oshigudu-Kokolo Road in Agatu for easy access and prompt response in case of security threats.
What we are discussing today in Agatu about Fulani invasion did not just happen in Agatu, it happened in my own local government too.
Keep going, keep going. The governor of Nasarawa State, Mr. Tanko Amakura, is also present. They are confronted with different shades of placards by peaceful protesters demanding that Fulani herdsmen stay out of Agatu. Some of the victims bear the marks of the attack.
We don't share boundary with them. We are not related. They kill my mom. They kill my uncle. So we don't need them. We don't even want them close to us.
A bone of contention is the alleged ceding of land to the herdsmen for cattle grazing. The sole administrator of Agatu local government area denies ceding the land and explains the action.
Under my administration, I don't want anybody to be killed in Agatu local government. It wasn't an agreement ceding any portion of land of Agatu to anybody. If you see the tenet of agreement, it is stipulated that these people should come and graze and go back, and they should not be allowed to use gun.
The Agatu leaders maintain that the deal is null and void and could instigate further crisis if followed through.
As far as the people of Agatu are concerned, we have not ceded that land to anybody. No, we have not mandated, the Agatu people have not mandated anybody to go and sign any agreement for them. It's as simple as that.
The resolution, being a work in progress, can only be best served with the interests of the communities paramount. While the Benue and Nasarawa state government approved the release of 30 million naira to help rebuild destroyed homes across communities in Agatu local government area.
Let's get some perspective on the situation in the north, especially the northeast. Dr. Onai Komo joins us now. He's a security expert. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Well, emergency agencies are now transporting many of those internally displaced people, especially in the major states, Borno, Adamawa, Nasarawa, and so on, back to their original homes. Does that mean that their original homes are safe for them to go back to?
Well, I think the the people on ground will have a better assessment of what the situation is in terms of the security and safety of the area. But based upon what we have seen recently, based upon the pattern of attacks by Boko Haram, I think it's probably a mistaken strategy. I have warned several times previously that there shouldn't be this undue haste to send these people back to their homes which have not been properly secured. Because we know that by and large, there's still a lot of Boko Haram activity in those areas. In the Madagali local government, that's northern Adamawa, in northern Borno, like Kukawa local government, where you have Rann, where the Air Force, the report you just gave, the Air Force investigation is ongoing. And 2 days after the bombing, accidental bombing, Tuesday of last week, Boko Haram actually attacked the military base there and tried to overrun it. And they were, they were worsted, as it were, in that encounter after 3 hours of a firefight. So if they are able to sustain several hours of firefight, and we've seen the attack on University of Maiduguri mosque where that Professor Ali Umani was killed. I mean, there are too many attacks right now. So I don't believe that it is pacified enough. The area has been pacified adequately for these IDPs to go back. Now, I know the problem. The problem is that, taking care of them in these camps.
And there have been reports that, some of the items and, supplies exactly are being diverted.
Well, those are things that will happen anyway, because the problem here is governance of IDP camps. I don't think we've spent enough cerebral capital on trying to figure out how to properly govern IDP camps. And I think that is something that the Presidential Task Force on or the Victims Fund, whatever it is, VCFI, those are the kinds of things they are supposed to be doing. All the groups that they are being set up, even the international aid agencies, there should be a meeting of minds on how to properly govern these IDP camps such that these kinds of abuses don't happen, or even the other ones, reports of physical attacks or sexual attacks against IDP indigenes. I think the problem here is the government is being overwhelmed, the state government in this case, like Borno state government, is being overwhelmed by the huge number of persons in IDP camps. They want to discharge them and go home, but their homes are not safe enough. And so you are, kind of sending them back for slaughter, unfortunately.
Oh, but isn't there supposed to be a process, to doing this? Even if you have to send them home, or if you have to send them to somewhere considered safer, isn't there supposed to be a process to do this? Or
there should be some guarantees. In fact, most of the IDP say they don't want to go home, that, their homes are not safe. And besides, some say, what are we going back home for? Now, one thing I had warned against some time ago was what we call HBIEDs, or even discarded IEDs. HBIEDs are homeborn IEDs. Okay. When terrorists have occupied a place like Boko Haram did in Northeast, when they leave, they mine the place. It's like what we are saying in Mosul, in Iraq right now. They mine homes, or they put bombs in homes, so that when you go in there, you open up, they detonate and kill you that's trying to get in there. And you need to have the military and the EOD, police EOD department, go in there and render these homes safe. Now, most of the homes have been destroyed anyway, so there are no homes for them to go back to. So before you say go home, you really ought to have something. You have to have some kind of a seed on ground. You have to build some kind of sheltering there for them and ensure that there is adequate security on ground in those places to protect them. Because if not, you're just opening them for unfortunate circumstances.
I hear you clearly, Dr. Ekome. It sounds like you're saying that there has to be another community set up for these people in order for them to go back. But I'd like to go back to something you said earlier, which was the Rann bombing.
Yes.
Let's talk a bit about that. So the possibility that the military could have mistakenly bombed a community. How possible is that?
Well, I think there are two versions right now. What the on-ground commander said was that there appeared to have been some insurgent activity in the area, and bomb strikes were called out in that area, which is okay. But I think perhaps the bombs landed in the wrong place and took out innocent citizens. I think by the last report I saw 236 dead now. But there's another version which says that it was just a misfire on the part of the pilot. That is very unlikely, because even based on the incident I say occurred 2 days later, there's a lot of Boko Haram activity in the area, and it appears to me that there was an actual report of some kind of insurgent activity. There was a military response, but it went wrong.
I guess we'll have to leave it to the military to do their findings. They say they're in Borno State now, so we'll wait for that report. Thank you so much, Dr. Ikomo, once again, for joining us on the News at 10. And when the News at 10 returns, Professor of Law Akin Oyebode insists the Niger Delta region is right to claim ownership of the nation's oil. Please join us again.